The camera opens on a quiet bus stop at dawn. Rain drips from the old tin roof. A dog sits there, soaked, trembling, and waiting. His eyes search every face that passes by. But no one stops. No one calls his name. For 5 years, this is where he came. Every morning, every night, sitting at the same spot, staring down the same road, waiting for someone who never came back. This is Max's story. The day it began, the world was bright. Max was running beside his owner, Daniel, a young man with a backpack and a heart full of laughter. They walked to that bus stop every day. Daniel would pat his head and say, "Stay here, buddy. I'll be back soon." And he always did, until the day he didn't. That morning, Daniel boarded a bus to the city for work. Max wagged his tail and watched him leave, his reflection fading in the bus window. Hours passed, then days, then weeks. Daniel never returned. Neighbors noticed Max waiting day after day. Some tried to take him home, but he would always find his way back to the bus stop. He refused food unless it was given right there, on that patch of cracked pavement where he last saw Daniel. The seasons changed. Summer burned into autumn. Autumn froze into winter. Snow piled around him, but Max stayed. Sometimes he limped from the cold. Sometimes he barked when he saw a bus, thinking maybe this one, would bring Daniel back. A few kind souls started leaving food and blankets. Children walking to school would greet him softly. "Hey, Max, still waiting?" The shopkeeper across the street placed a small wooden shelter near the stop. Yet, even with all that care, Max's eyes were always on the road. Years turned people's pity into legend. The town started calling him the loyal dog. Tourists came to see him. Some cried, some smiled, some prayed. But Max didn't care about fame. He cared about one thing only, Daniel. One stormy night, lightning cracked the sky. The buses stopped running. The wind howled through the empty street. A young boy named Liam found Max curled on the bench, shivering. He crouched beside him. "Hey, it's okay, boy," Liam whispered. Max looked up, those same tired eyes full of faith. Liam lifted him gently and carried him home. Max didn't fight. Maybe he was too weak. Maybe he just trusted the boy. At home, Liam and his mother dried him, fed him warm broth, and laid him near the fire. For the first time in years, Max slept deeply. But when morning came, the door was open and Max was gone. Liam ran through the rain, shouting, "Max! Max!" He found him back at the bus stop, sitting in his usual place, soaked again, watching the road. That day, Liam didn't drag him away. He just sat beside him, silent, and that became their ritual. Every day after school, Liam would bring a snack and sit with Max. Sometimes he read stories aloud. Sometimes he just watched the buses with him. The boy grew older. Max grew slower. But the wait never ended. 5 years passed since Daniel disappeared. The stop was the same, though everything else had changed. The shelter had faded. The pavement cracked deeper, and Max's fur turned gray around his muzzle. One foggy morning, Liam noticed something strange. A man stepping off the bus with a cane, moving slowly. He wore a torn jacket, a limp in his leg, and a haunted look in his eyes. Max's ears perked. His tail twitched. And then he barked. Loudly, desperately. The man turned. Their eyes met. He froze. It was Daniel. The world stopped for a heartbeat. Rain started to fall again, soft, cleansing. Max staggered forward, his legs trembling. Daniel dropped his cane, fell to his knees, and whispered, "Buddy, you waited for me?" Max whimpered, pressing his head into Daniel's chest, tail thumping weakly. The people around them watched through tears. Even the bus driver's eyes glistened. But as Daniel held him tighter, he felt something, the slow, fading rhythm of Max's heartbeat. The dog had been waiting his whole life for this moment. And now that his wait was over, Max's breathing began to slow. Daniel cried out, holding him close, whispering words lost in the sound of the rain. The scene fades as the camera pulls back. The bus stopped in the mist, one man kneeling, one dog resting peacefully in his arms. But Max's story isn't over yet, because what Daniel does next will change everything. End of section 1. Daniel's tears mixed with the rain as he cradled Max's still body. The world around him blurred. The traffic, the people, the sound of buses pulling away. All he could hear was the echo of a bark he would never hear again. Daniel had survived an accident 5 years earlier. The bus he was on had crashed on a foggy highway. He'd been found unconscious, suffering from head trauma and memory loss. He didn't even remember his own name for years. The doctors said he was lucky to live, but luck fell hollow now. He pressed his forehead against Max's and whispered, "You never gave up on me, did you?" The boy, Liam, stood behind him, tears running down his face. "He waited every day," Liam said softly. "Right here. Rain, snow, didn't matter. He believed you'd come back." Daniel's voice trembled. "I don't deserve him." Liam shook his head. "You already had him. That's what mattered." The town gathered later that evening. They laid Max to rest beside the bus stop, under the old oak tree where he used to watch the road. Someone brought flowers. Another left a photograph of Max sitting with Liam. Daniel stayed there until night swallowed the streetlights. He whispered to the earth, "You kept your promise, buddy. Now it's my turn." In the weeks that followed, Daniel tried to make sense of his life. His memories came back in fragments, his parents' faces, his old apartment, the sound of Max's paws on the wooden floor. But every piece carried the same image, that loyal dog waiting. He started spending time with Liam and his mother, who owned a small rescue shelter on the edge of town. It was the same shelter that had once offered to take Max in, but he'd always returned to the stop. One morning, Daniel arrived at the shelter with a plan. "I want to help," he told Liam's mom. "No, not just help. I want to build something new. For dogs like him. For the ones who wait." She smiled softly. "You mean a rescue?" Daniel nodded. "But not just any rescue. I want it to be called Max's Promise." Months passed. The old bus stop became a place of remembrance. A small statue of Max was placed there, a bronze figure with eyes lifted toward the road, as if still waiting. People came from nearby towns to visit, to leave collars, photos, and letters. Stories spread across the internet about the dog who waited 5 years for his owner. And soon, donations started pouring in for Max's Promise. The shelter grew bigger. They built new kennels, hired volunteers, and rescued countless animals, many abandoned, some injured, all in need of hope. Daniel found peace in caring for them. He'd walk through the rows of kennels, talking to each dog. Sometimes he'd see the same look in their eyes, the same quiet patience Max once had. He'd kneel down and whisper, "You're safe now. You don't have to wait anymore." One day, Liam ran into Daniel's office, grinning. "You've got to see this." Outside, a woman stood near the gate, clutching a small brown puppy. The pup was trembling, soaked from the rain. She was left on the side of the road. The woman said, "I thought maybe you could take her." Daniel reached for the puppy, holding her gently. She looked up at him with the same trusting eyes, soft, full of hope. He smiled through tears. "Welcome home, little one." Liam tilted his head. "What should we call her?" Daniel looked toward the statue of Max in the distance. The bronze glistened under the drizzle, like it was watching over them. "Hope," Daniel said quietly. "Let's call her Hope." Years later, Max's Promise became one of the largest rescue organizations in the region. Thousands of animals found new homes, and Danny became known as the man who turned loss into love. But he never took the credit. Whenever someone thanked him, he'd smile and point to the statue. "He's the real hero," Daniel would say. On quiet evenings, Daniel would sit by Max's grave with Hope curled at his feet. He'd watch the road, the buses, the people. Sometimes a bus would stop, and he'd almost expect to see that wagging tail again. He'd smile softly, whispering, "I'm home now, buddy. You can rest easy." The camera fades out on the bronze statue under the oak tree. The bus passes, kicking up a swirl of golden leaves. A faint bark echoes in the wind, gentle, eternal. And somewhere in that sound, love lives on. End of section 2.